Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colleen Lockoff.
And I'm Meredy Lockoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colleen. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meredy?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colleen here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today we have Paul Zolman, and he's joining us from St. George, Utah. And I'm so excited for today because we're looking at love languages, and Paul's going to share a little bit of like how to become a love language linguist. So what does that mean? We're going to dive into it. First of all, I just want to thank you so much for joining us, Paul.
Thank you very much, Colleen. I'm so excited to be with you sisters today for this fun podcast.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's awesome. So why don't we just dive right in? We would love to know a little bit more about what you do and a little bit more just about you.
Yes.
Well, Colleen and Meredy, I actually had a midlife crisis that caused a lot of this, but it caused reflection on my youth, and it caused reflection on what's going to happen in the future. In a midlife crisis, you're trying to figure out who are you, what did you really grow up to be, and who are you now, and what do you want to be when you really grow up?
Right.
And it was that kind of crisis that I came to, that I thought, I've got to change a way that I treat people. And probably the biggest impetus for this crisis was that I was dating someone, and it was time for big brother approval. I'm number 10 of 11 children, and only 11. My grandfather had 19 children. And
Wow.
my father toned it down a little bit. I even toned it down a little bit more. I only had 8. And
Wow.
my children are only having 3. I don't get that. I want more grandchildren. That's why we have children, right? But so I'm taking this lady to my big brother for big brother approval. And you always need that when you're number 10 of 11. So I go into his house, and the first thing that happens, my sister-in-law pulls her aside and says point blank, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I denied it. Then it made me mad. And I thought, I just verified exactly what she said. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. If that's the perception that others have of the Zolman family too, I've got an opportunity right here and now to make a change. And so I started reading books like The Color Code and then the 5 Love Languages. And I settled on the principles of the 5 Love Languages. I'm Christian, and I thought this really reconciles to the life of Jesus Christ. Christ served people. We love his words. He had the gifts of the Spirit and used the gifts of the Spirit, spent time with people, and then the physical touch, touching the eyes so they could see, ears so that they could hear. All 5 love languages reconcile to the life of Jesus Christ. I thought, you know what, I think that I could be a better person if I did something along those lines. So I started looking at it and started reading the book from Dr. Chapman. I didn't get it. I read it 5 times. I still didn't get it. I wasn't raised that way. Plus, at the time, I didn't really have a significant other. I was close to being engaged, but after that little thing with my sister-in-law, things didn't fall together like I thought that it would. So here I am, single and not having a significant other. I said, Dr. Chapman, who in the heck am I supposed to love? And so I started looking around. I thought, oh, I get to love everybody. And it was perfect for me because what I was doing was I was being annoyed, stacking these annoyances, having flashes of anger. And then I go back down and I'd be annoyed. Hardly ever was I annoyed at myself. It was always other people. It's always their fault, and I had that blame game, that victimitis, so to speak, of blaming other people for my own faults. In fact, I was blaming my father for all the dumb things that I was doing in my own life because he trained me. But he had been dead for 7 years, but I was still blaming him. So I wanted to stop all that. And I thought, well, how do I move from being so critical about everybody else and focusing on their faults and their weaknesses, which maybe is 10, maybe 20% of the personality? How do I move from there to focusing on what's right about that person? What can I love about that person? Which really is kind of 80 to 90% of their personality. I was missing all that, focusing on what was wrong with everybody. So I thought, well, maybe I can make this a game. And so games is what brought us together as a family. It was different when we were playing games. Seemed to be some kindness. There seemed to be some loving that happened during the games. Outside the game, it wasn't that way. So it was different. So what if I made this a game? So I contacted Dr. Chapman and asked him, are you licensing each one of those little icons, each one of those little pictures that you have for the love languages? And his attorney wrote back after a couple of weeks, said, no, we're not doing that at this particular time. Well, I happened to have an attorney in my neighborhood that was a friend. He happened to be a copyright attorney. And so I told him that my idea, and he said this. He said, theory, like the love language theory, is not copyrightable. Application is. So what I did was I created my own icons and put them together and actually put them on a dice, made my own dice, and just made a little cube. So there you see touch. Those are the words. This is a hand holding an hourglass for your listeners. Hourglass representing time. Looks like a waiter holding a platter. That would represent service.
Yeah.
And then the last one is gifts. So a hand holding gifts. You'll notice that each one of these little icons I have on the dice are a hand holding something out, as if we're giving it to someone else. I realized that during this process that I could not bid love to come my way. Dr. Chapman has in his book a survey that, well, if you take this survey, then you can find out what your love language is.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck am I supposed to do with that? Advertise? Hello, Mary D. Hello, Colin. I am gifts. What do you have for me today? It is so awkward. Why would you ever express that as your love language to someone? Said, bring it on. You develop this expectation that you're going to get it, and on their side, it develops a duty if you tell them. Duty and expectation is more of a transaction. That's not love. Come on, Dr. Chapman. It's really not. So I thought, there's got to be a better way. So as I developed this dice, there's 6 sides on the dice. The last side I developed is with a hand again, a question mark. This one has surprised me. So there's just 2 instructions, very simple, 2 instructions. Roll the dice every day. Whatever it lands on, that is the love language you practice giving away all day that day. All day to everybody. So what you're watching for as you're giving it away, you're watching for people to light up. And when they light up, you've discovered now what their primary or secondary love language is. That person, you can just wash, rinse, repeat. Just keep that thought in mind for that person. No longer do you have to say, excuse me, could we pause this relationship for just a moment? Well, have you take this survey so I know how to love you? You don't have to do that anymore. Taking the awkward out of it. So that's kind of how I did that. And I found that by doing this all day long, I set the purpose for the day that I'm going to love all day long and watch for opportunities to love all day long. I wasn't ever annoyed because I forgot to be annoyed because I'm looking a totally different direction
Right.
of what's right about that person. What can I love about that person? As I'm doing that, I developed a habit of this, a habit of watching for what's right. What can I love about that person? As I'm rolling the dice, though, I'm also learning all 5 love languages just by giving it away. I realize that what's in my lane is I can give it away and then I can, bless you, and then I can respond when it comes my way. Those are the only 2 things I can do. I can't tell people to love me. I just can't do that. And so that's kind of how it all came to be. And that's how you become a love language linguist, by practicing giving it away and responding when it comes your way. One of the problems Dr. Chapman has as a Baptist pastor was that he'd had couples come in for counseling saying, and the husband would say, oh, I'm sending love her way. She's not seeing it. And the wife would say, I'm sending love his way. He's not seeing it. They were like ships passing in the night because they didn't understand each other's love language. Learning all 5 love languages in this very simple way gives you that peripheral vision that, oh, I can see they're loving on me. It's not my primary love language, but I can respond to that. Just changes the whole dynamics of the communication.
I
I
love
love
that, Paul.
this.
I could
Yeah.
not agree more. So for our listeners, I feel like everybody knows love languages, but just in case they don't, I've taken the quiz myself. There are 5 love languages. Let me see if I've got them, because this is something that I read a million years ago. We've got acts of service. We've got gifts. We've got words of affirmation. Okay. Oh, we've got we just saw them.
There's
Verity, come on.
2.
Come
Hello,
on.
they're the 2 that are me.
Okay.
Physical touch
Okay, that's right.
and quality time, baby.
That's right. Okay.
Those 2 are my main love languages.
Got
So
him.
yeah. Okay, great. We did it. Yay. We didn't even do our homework, which is awesome. So, okay. I love this because you go where you look. So if you're looking at how people are annoying you every day, of course, you're just going to pick out more annoyances. And I love this idea of getting to know all of the love languages, because like Merity just said, she's got 2. And so you can hit, and I mean, how much would you love it if I just gave you a gift as well, Merity? I mean, you wouldn't hate that.
No, I'm not gonna be mad about it. Definitely, I'm
So,
gonna appreciate that
so
for
to
sure.
learn all of them would be so handy just to be putting out there. And I love that it's on a hand always, because you're giving as opposed to the hand.
Receiving.
Oh yeah, the hands aren't doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love this because for me, it's like I want to be loved in my love language. But if I'm instead of focusing on me and the selfishness, because Lynn and I have had this conversation, I said to her, the definition of true love versus what real love actually is are so completely disconnected, because true love in the world that we live in now is actually the most selfish thing that I've ever seen in my life. Because if you ask someone, what is it that you love about your partner? The way they make me feel, the way that they treat someone, which in turn is about the way they make me feel, because I feel wonderful about you because you made someone else feel wonderful. You know, like it's all about me, and it's such a selfish thing, which is how come Buddha said, if you love a flower, you don't pick it, you water it. And this idea of like rolling a dice and practicing that love all day long, you're practicing different types of love. And you're so focused on love and loving everyone you interact with, rather than only loving your partner or only loving your children or only loving people who deserve your love. Like this whole idea of rolling a dice and deciding which love I'm giving away today instead of which love I'm receiving today is just so like, it's very in my wheelhouse. Not something I've thought of, but something that I definitely really, I love the idea of.
I love what you said, Meredith, and it's really something that erases any labels. You could be you could be my wife, you could have a husband, you could be a spouse of any sort, but or you could be black, or you could be white, or you could be brown, or you could be gay, or you could be straight. It doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. It really erases all labels of anybody when you're sending out this real love. When you're sending it out, you're sending it out without any expectation of it coming back, because that's what love is.
And
Sending
it
it
can
out.
be for random strangers. Like I love that for me because I'm always
Absolutely.
interacting with, random new strangers that come in, like with Laser Quit or with the bookkeeping or any of the things, like the different people that I'm interacting with, and just offering them this love today. And tomorrow I'm going to offer them a different kind of love.
Right.
Like it really makes my heart feel all warm and fuzzy that I get to go give that love away.
Well, and that's exactly what you're looking for too. You'll get paid, so to speak, when you light someone up, when you make their day a better day. It gives you a great feeling, and it's counterintuitive to what you were saying, Meredith, that it's not about you anymore. It's about them. How did you
Yeah.
make them feel? And I love the this quote that says, everybody will hear about what you say and do, but at the end of the day, they'll remember how you
How
make them
you made
feel.
them feel. That
Yeah.
was Maya Angelou. And that
Maya
is
Angelou.
probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite things ever because I live by that. Like it's not about what I did for them. It's not about what they heard about me or any of the things. It's about how I made them feel
Absolutely.
when I interacted with them. And for me, that's my game changer in life.
Well,
And that's what this is all about. Yeah.
this was a constant thing that we were fed. I used to be a nurse and I used to work in the emergency room. And so when we would get pep talks in our daily rounds, this is what a quote that was always said to us. Because, sometimes when people are waiting 9 hours to get in to see the doctor, and we as nurses know you shouldn't even be here. Like, what no wonder you're waiting 9 hours. I
Find
mean,
it.
that
Yeah.
that kind of an attitude
Find
is
a different emergency room.
yes, but it doesn't go over well. So when somebody leaves, they're like, oh, it was terrible. Everybody was so unkind. They didn't take me seriously. And I would constantly be reminded that even though this person might not need to be here, they don't want to be here. They're coming here because this is like their last resort. They need help. They think you can fix them. And here they are coming to you to help. And what you're doing is like treating them like crap and
Like they're
making them
idiots.
feel bad for being here and wasting your time. Yet, why are you getting paid? Because people keep coming in the door. So I know I got super burnt out at the end of nursing. That this was one of the practices that I learned immediately into becoming self-aware, was that I really could give out love even if I was in a bad mood, and it would switch the whole dynamic of the waiting room or the family or the whatever was going on. If I could just touch, maybe, give a smile and let people know it really
They're
sucks
cared
to be
for.
here for 9 hours. And if you need anything or it gets worse, come and let me know.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Do you have other practices that you use as well as the dice, Paul?
Other
Practices. Is there other things you use with the love language, like the different love languages? Is there other practices you use as well as the dice?
So I've tried to really keep it simple, Meredith, that the dice is something that anybody can do. It's just, it takes 2 seconds or less to roll the die. And, living a couple hours north of Las Vegas is perfect for developing a dice game. But it's really just that simple. And I really want people to use their freedom. Everybody has a little bit different circumstances, but I want you to use your freedom to be able to choose how you're going to send out love in that particular genre, that particular day. And I think that empowering people is the key. If you laden people with a lot of tools, like the doctors at a hospital have a stethoscope, they might have to bring an oxygen tank. They might have to do a lot of things and have all these tools and then bombard you with all these solutions. But this is really simple. And I want it to be simple so that people will take it into their lives, really use it, and set the tone for the day. How am I going to act today? How am I going to act when that guy cuts me off? How am I going to act when bad things happen? That's when our true character comes out, is when bad things happen. How are we going to react to that? And I was reacting really bad. I'd have that, that flash of anger because I had been annoyed. You don't know what annoyances came before you came along. And you might get that blow of anger. And I don't have that anymore. Instead, what happens now, because of the simplicity of this, what happens now is I set kindness on top of kindness on top of kindness to get to higher laws of love, like compassion,
Right.
or like intimacy, or like forgiveness or mercy or charity. Any of those are higher laws of love. These are the basics. And everybody should up their level of the literacy of love by learning these basics. I don't think we have it there. We're certainly not there. In a school system, Meredy, to answer your question, there are different applications, but it's the same thing. In a school system, the class will roll the die at the beginning of the day. The teacher might take 30 or 45 seconds to say, class, this is the type of behavior that we're looking for today. At the end of the class, I do have one other tool that I do provide to the teacher, is a journal page that says, this is what we rolled. This is the opportunities we saw to love in that way. And this is what we did about those opportunities. So it's a page that kind of prompts them to write about their love experience that particular day. Imagine that for a 6-year-old or for a 9-year-old. That 6-year-old now is responsible for their own actions. It took me till age 35 to realize that, oh, I can't blame my father anymore.
Right.
Oh, I'm responsible for my own actions. And it really took me that long to realize that, yeah, I'm responsible for my own stuff. At age 6, now they're responsible because they know they have to write at the end of the day. I've talked with teachers around the world, and every single teacher says the last 10 to 15 minutes of the day is non-productive time. Well, let's make that productive time. Let's have a decompression activity so that they can wind down at the end of the day by journal writing. And journal writing has been proven to be that decompression activity. Make it a love journal. I would have loved to have a love journal from my first grade class. I loved Mrs. Rogers. I remember her name all these years since that time. She was more grandmotherly. She's probably in her 60s, really old compared to a 6-year-old, 10 times my age.
Right.
But I loved going to school. I didn't want to go home. The love I felt at school was overwhelming compared to the lack of love that I felt at home.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there at school. I wanted to learn. I wanted to do whatever she asked me to do to learn. And I just fell in love with Mrs. Rogers. I wish I had a journal about that. So put all these papers together. The teacher at the end of the day puts a little check mark, sends the journal page home with Johnny or Mary, and they take that home. The student parents will keep those in chronological order throughout the school year. At the end of the school year, bind it. You have a journal for that first grader or that third grader or that sixth grader. You've got a journal that they will be that they'll cherish the rest of their life. And it's a journal about love. Secondly, if they're writing about love and looking for loving opportunities, they're not thinking about beating up on someone. They're not thinking about bullying, and they're managing their own affairs. No longer does a teacher have to step in and spend time disciplining when that teacher should be teaching.
Right.
Yeah.
The principal doesn't have to step in because now the child is responsible on their own. And any interaction that the principal or teacher might have was just a reminder that this is something that you need to do. This is what was going to help you throughout your life. So they learn it in first grade. They learn it in primary school. They carry it on to the junior high, high school, college, hopefully their life. They're going to be better citizens all the way around. That's the generational thing that we're trying to accomplish. It's going to take some time. In addition to that, we're looking for corporate sponsors that will, just like our Yogurtland is a local corporate sponsor in the testing period for this.
Cool.
Yogurtland will give each child 5 ounces of yogurt for free if they do 15 days of journal writing. That's about 3 weeks. If they do the full 25 days within the month, the 25 school days, they'll get 10 ounces of yogurt for free. And so it's a motivation on that level too, to make sure that the kids are doing the love, writing about it, and then just the teachers just doing the check.
I love this because I feel like this is one of those things that's missing so heavily. Like our schools are teaching things that we don't need to know, that we're never going to use again in our lives. And yet this is implementing something that we're going to use for the rest of our lives. It's going to teach you how to love other people before you actually fall in love, so that when you do fall in love, you can actually love somebody properly.
Well, and you'll know what love looks like too.
Yes.
You'll know what it feels like to love another person, and you'll know what it looks like. This is all up and up. Even when it comes, people often ask me about, well, what about physical touch? What are you going to do in the classroom? I said, you're going to do a high five. You're going to do the fist bump. You're going to do create a fancy handshake between you and your friends, maybe 5 or 10 step handshake that is only between you and your friend.
Right.
Those are the type of things, or pat somebody on the back. Those are the type of physical touch things that are appropriate that you could do at that level.
That's great, because that's where I was going, is like, first and foremost, generational teaching. The concept of us teaching adults through the children it's just not explored enough.
Yeah.
Because, we're born and then we're taught dysfunction and toxicity based on, like you said, what did you learn? You learned how to be angry. Well, so did we. And that, like, if I like this, then I'm going to hit it or something like that. So I do like, also based on a reward system, is like, this kid is really going to show up, sure, for his yogurt, but at the same time able to be like, Mom, that wasn't an act of service. You were mean or something like that. So I like the idea of going through each of the love languages and sharing, because something that's gotten for me is gifts. My daughter, one of her love languages is gifts. And this kid is amazing at picking out the perfect gift for each and every person. She spends so much time thinking about it. But this doesn't have to be that you're going out and actually buying stuff, right? Like, what counts is that giving of gifts.
I love that you brought that up, Glenn, because gifts can be very intimidating to a lot of people. But just think of it like this. I look at it like the gifts is the umbrella over all the love languages. You could give a hug as a gift. You could send them a note as a gift, or write them a note. You could spend time with them as a gift. Just watch a TV show, watch a football game, whatever they like. Help them by spending time with them. Serve dinner to them. Anything like that. All of these are a gift. And it's just they all kind of overlap in that way. So don't get really stuck on a particular love language. If you're practicing over a period of time, you'll learn them all. But if you're practicing a genre one particular day, like today I wrote service, but I can serve people by doing a lot of different things. I can serve them by letting them know about this now as something that they could learn how to serve. Maybe training people to serve is a good thing that service would do. And I'm just looking at different angles that way. But I had a son that was bogged down by gifts one day. He rolled gifts and he says, I'm not going to do that. And he's just a little defiant, and they rolled it again. I'm still not going to do that. Rolled it the third time. I said, it was gifts again. And he said, no, we're not doing that. He rolled it the fourth time. It was gifts.
Wow.
And he decided, okay, I'm gonna do gifts today.
The universe has decided you are
God's
doing
like,
today.
you're
That's right.
Yes.
One other thing I want to bring up is that, I had a prototype, and this is the prototype that I made. It's huge. It's a 2.5 inch block of wood that I made, and I laser engraved the icons on it that I just picked off the internet. And I found out that this block of wood had really sharp edges. So if I knew that I was rolling I put one of what I wanted to do that particular day on the top, I knew that it would go thunk, 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 only 4 thunks, and I had to have it. And so it was really kind of hokey at the beginning. And I realized that probably it's because of all the sharp edges. And then I realized, oh, I'm the one that had sharp edges. I'm the one that really needed to have those edges beveled off so that they were not so sharp. And by rolling the die and rolling it over a period of time, they wore down. And those sharp edges that I had of being so critical of other people also wore down. And so it's just a better life to take that edge off of your personality if you've got that edgy type of personality, and be a whole lot more loving, a lot more giving, and expressing in that way.
It's really interesting because that's like something I've been working on. And every day I ask the universe, what would love do? So this is another way for me to use that in my practices of, well, what would love do? Well, today love is acts of service. Today, love is, like being able to love one with a method in mind will make responding with love an easier thing for me to do, which I absolutely love that because I'm going to use this. My best friend that's one of the things she's recently brought into her life is what would love do? And so I literally am going to be like, let's have a conversation because I think this is so great. And I think it's something that her and her kids, like the whole family of 5, can roll this dice, or they can choose that one person rolls the dice for the entire family for the day, and that everyone has to act in these ways.
It's interesting that yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so my next question is going to be, where do they get the dice? Is it on Amazon? Do you have a specific website? Like, where can we buy this dice?
So the dice is on my website. It's on rolloflove.com. And I did a play on words. ROLL is something that happens outside of you. So I didn't use that word. ROLE is the change that happens within. So it's ROLE of love.com. So easy to find, rolloflove.com. I do have the book, and I've got the journal on Amazon. The book is in Kindle format and Audible format on Amazon, but I have the book and the journal in paper format on my website with the dice as well. And on my website with that, if any of your listeners order within the next 7 days or so, all they have to put is in the notes is sisters, and I'll throw in an ebook that I wrote a few years ago, 101 Ways to Express Love. And it
I love that.
gives you some suggestions on how to express love that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that. And I'm going to be I just all of a sudden got a whole bunch of Christmas gifts now, didn't I?
There you go.
What a nice one, because it can be for me in my relationships, I've just wanted to be right and heard for so long. And so when it comes down to like the argument part of things, it has been historically difficult to put down the armor and just show up from a place of which, I say all the time of like, what would love do? I think it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in a relationship. Even if I know I'm right, you're wrong. I've got this, and I take a second to think, what would love do? It really isn't argue. It really isn't like be right. It's to recognize that at this moment, my sister and I used to be really into Tony Robbins and go to him a lot. And one concept that he talks about all the time is that people are only ever acting from 2 places. Number 1, love, or number 2, wanting to be loved. And so I know this can be a little bit confusing, especially when it comes to like good and evil, but he says there's no evil, there's just wanting to be loved. And we don't have to get into that, but that has been really helpful for me to be like, oh, this person's coming from a place of wanting to be loved. sure, they're trying to hurt me. So if I come from a place of wanting to be loved too, I'm just hurting them back. What's a way that I could just put down my
Love
armor,
them.
stop trying to be right, and give them what it is that they're looking for with boundaries and all the things we've ever talked about, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just, turning it over. And that is when things really change for me in my own relationships with people, is like, okay.
I
Yeah.
love that question, Colin, and let me illustrate it one way that that really works for me.
Great.
I was out walking a couple months ago and found a walking stick. We have a little river just a couple blocks from my home, and so there were sticks. This stick that I found didn't have any bark on it at all. One side of it, it's only 3.5 feet tall, so it's perfect for a walking stick. One side of it's really smooth for your hand, but the other side, you can see, has a little knot on it. You wouldn't want to put your hand on that, and it would really be uncomfortable to put your hand on that. I call the other side the nice side of the stick, and this is the naughty side of the stick.
Okay.
Not naughty and nice.
Yeah.
Christmas is coming up, and so you actually started to use that as a spectrum. So if you can name the behavior, or if you can describe what the behavior is, say it's impatience, what would be the opposite? Patience. Where would impatience belong on that spectrum? Obviously, impatience is kind of naughty.
Yeah.
Patience would be more loving. Take another word, sarcasm. Where does it belong? Naughty or nice?
Naughty.
Naughty.
On the naughty side.
Yeah.
But what would be the opposite of sarcasm?
Kindness.
Someone that would be genuine,
Yeah.
or someone that's actually saying what they mean.
Yeah.
Instead of having that sarcastic barb there, it's someone that's true blue, someone that's authentic.
Right.
When you put all those words on a table and tell people, choose one, what trait would you want? They're going to choose to be on the loving side. So I've come up with a phrase. I didn't come up with it, but I adopted a phrase that says, if you can name it, then you can tame it.
Fair.
So if you can name what the behavior is, then you can find out, well, what side of the spectrum is, find out what the opposite might be. Very useful to find out what the opposite is, and then find out, well, where do I want to be on the spectrum? What kind of attitude do I want to have? And back, Meredith, back to you're testing this dice with a family of 5 people. I did test it with a family of there was 5 children in the family. And one day this 4-year-old rolls physical touch, and he'd been taught a little bit about the love languages just by rolling the die with his family, but they rolled it individually. And when you roll it individually, you own it for yourself.
Mhm.
That's what you're going to be doing that day. So rather than roll it in bulk as a family, rolling individually, I think, is a little bit better. But as he rolled physical touch, he's jumping up, in hands in the air. He's the youngest, 4 years old, jumping up. Yes, physical touch, and immediately went and started to beat up on his brothers.
Of course.
He thought that was exactly what he was waiting for, that opportunity, that permission to go do that to his brothers. Well, apparently his brothers were doing that to him, and that's how he thought people express love.
Wow.
And it was perfect because all the siblings were there at the same time. It was a perfect teaching moment for that parent to say, son, after she's trying to hold back the laughter because she did not expect that from him, son, this would be appropriate physical touch. You can hug your brothers. You can give them the high five or the fist bump, or just put your arm around them and walk down, or hold their hand even. You can do those kind of physical touch things, and those would be appropriate. But the teaching moment was the value there.
Yeah. I love that. I also feel like the physical touch one is a really beautiful entrance into teaching consent as well. One of the
I
things,
was thinking the same.
I mean, we're both women, so
Asking.
we know what this is like. A majority of women have, well, and men too, unfortunately, have been victims of sexual assault. I know I teach yoga teacher trainings, and so I'll have a whole group of about 30 people, and I'll say, who here has ever been touched without their consent? And everyone always puts their hands up. So it also gives us an opportunity to talk about, like you just said, what is appropriate physical touch between people, and then also asking for consent, and then learning that, like, one of the things I say is not to head up to someone and say, do you need a hug, but to like own it.
Mm.
Right? Can I hug you? Because
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. I want to give you a hug. It's not that you're so weak and exhausted that I need to hug you so you feel better. This is me owning what I would like to offer you. And then it also gives us the opportunity to learn the answers yes and no.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love that. There's I was gonna say something about that too. Lost it for a minute. I'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this conversation because I think it's such an important one for us to have about the different love languages and how the languages are so personal for each person, but how we can give all of the loves. So
Yeah.
yes, mine is absolutely it. And I actually just redid the test not that long ago to find that, because I used to be, it used to be 100%, like I'd say probably like 40% quality time, and then 30% physical touch. And it's actually shifted. It's now more like 36% physical touch and 34% quality time. And what's interesting though for me when I read that is, well, you can't touch me without spending time with me. So I'm getting both in one in my
Right.
physical touch side.
Right.
But for me, that's how I enjoy being loved the most, is when you're with me and touching me. And then there's people who, who have had such a traumatic background of this abuse that they don't know how to be touched, or they don't even know how to touch you in a gentle way. And, that's also something that's recently Lynn and I have had talked about, because I spend a lot of time with her and her husband, and her husband will just randomly at times grab her foot and start to tickle it, which is so funny because she just like becomes like this useless pile of mush when he does it. And it's his way of giving her physical touch that she absolutely loves, because she has her own thing around physical touch. And I watched them do it this one time, and the joy he has on his face because he's giving her what she needs, and then her like ridiculous euphoric face. I said to them both while they're sitting there doing this like quite personal thing, and I was like, this is what I want in my next relationship. Like I want to be able to ask for someone to tickle my feet, or those things. And then the universe literally, God was like, here you go, Meredith. You can have everything you want. And the person that I'm with right now is just like the most affectionate. The way he touches me is just so gentle and kind and loving. And sadly, I know a lot of women will resonate with this when I say it. Sadly, typically when the person that you're with touches you, especially after a long period of time of being with them, when they touch you, you almost pull away because that's leading to sex. It's not touching you because they love you and want to give you pleasure in that way. It's, I want something from you, so I'm touching you to give you this because let's make a transaction out of this. That's not what
That's not
I
love.
see. No, and that's not what I see in this relationship with my sister and her husband. And so then that's literally what I asked for, and it's exactly what I'm getting. It's not transactional. He's not looking for something from me in that. He just is touching me because he enjoys being near me and wants to touch. Like I love this piece of it, because I also know for Lynn, this was such a big, like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. And now to see like her husband and the way that he does it, and then see the pleasure on both their faces, it's something that I was like, okay, I'm seeing something I want that I've never realized I want.
Right. It leads
So
into quality time too.
yeah.
Nowadays with parenting, sometimes I'm so sad when I go out and I see, I guess I'm getting to grandma. Well, my daughter almost has a baby, so I'm becoming a grandma, and I
Awesome.
do have,
Congratulations.
thank you. I do have more time, and I feel that I'm a more patient person than I was 24 years ago. But I see parents nowadays like out walking their kids on their phone. The kids are on the playground, they're on their phone. And I feel like there's a huge opportunity missed to spend quality, like spending time and quality time to me are different things. I even get into it a few times when I'm having a conversation with my partner and he's talking and he's like, did you hear anything I said? It's like, no, first of all, because you're talking to me while I'm busy, but like, second of all, for me to just put everything down and give you all of my attention is more quality time than me being like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
agree. So I grew up and it was a lot of physical abuse or sexual abuse,
Yeah.
emotional abuse, a lot of different kind of abuses. And so when I first took the test, I also came out as physical touch. That I thought that was love. And now over the years, even if I take the test now, uh, just spending quality time and that service actually come more to the top after I've learned the languages. And I think that we get dialed in on what our parents are giving us as maybe a primary love
Fair.
language. And I think that what you discovered, Meredith, that if as you go along, that there changes a little bit. And for me, it changed dramatically because I didn't know what I didn't know until when I became that love language linguist or learned all the love languages. I didn't get that there from reading the book 5 times. In fact, after I read the book 5 times, I could not recite for you as you recited at the very beginning. I could not recite the 5 love languages
Right.
after that. Now I can because it's through practice, and older adults like myself actually learn through doing. And by doing it, by sending it out and not making it transactional, sending it out without any expectation of coming back, you're still you can't defy the laws of the universe out there. Whatever you plant, you're going to reap. The law of the harvest, karma, the law of attraction, all say the same about the same thing. That whatever you send out, it's going to come back to you someday, at some point in time. So it's like putting money in the bank. And Colin, I love that you're doing yoga and teaching teachers how to teach that because I love the word namaste. So at the end of the class, you say namaste. It doesn't mean, hey, all class is over. It doesn't mean that. What it means, the Hindu interpretation, it's a Sanskrit from the Sanskrit dialect in northern India, which brings us towards karma and brings us nirvana. But namaste means the God in me sees the God in you. This is what we're talking about. I'm looking for what's right about you. I'm looking for those things that are divine about you. When I'm looking for that, I'm not looking at your faults. Everybody has them. Why focus on them? Focus on those things. And I love the idea of a magnifying glass, that whatever you put under that magnifying glass is going to get larger. Why would you want the faults of other people to become larger in your own estimation? Focus on what's right, make that larger, and then you're just going to develop just deeper and better relationships in that way.
So right. Paul, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. Would you mind repeating one more time your website and the coupon code that people can send for the free ebook?
Sure, I'll repeat it twice if you'd like.
Thank you.
One more time. roleoflove.com, ROLE of love.com. And the coupon code is if you'll just type sisters in the notes, then I'll include the ebook that is 101 ways to express love. Just ideas, about 20 or so different ideas through each genre of the love languages on how to send love out.
I love that. And I will share all of these links as well in the, below description. So thank you so much, Paul, for coming and sharing. Meredith, anything you want to say?
No, I just appreciate this, and I'm going to be hopping on to the
She's already getting, I know what she's doing. She's like, I don't even know what
you're talking about. I'm like checking things out here because I need to make sure I have some good Christmas gifts. And this is great for so many people, and not just in like, here's your Christmas gift, but like, here's a Christmas gift that you guys can use to teach each other so much. So I'm really excited.
Possibilities are endless. Thank you,
They are.
Meredith. Thank you, Colin. It's been a delight to be with you today.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colin and Nerdy Locked Off, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.